President Obama today completes his first 100 days in office, and he took over from an administration that was at rock bottom in the opinion polls and promised to bring change. But how successful has the new president been? To discuss this, I'm now joined by the political analyst and journalist James Pinkerton, who was a policy advisor to Presidents Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr. Thanks very much indeed for being with us here in the program, Mr. Pinkerton. Now, President Obama came to power promising change. So how do you think the president fared during the first 100 days in office? Has he changed much?
I think he's changed a great deal, especially in foreign affairs. And he's clearly set a new direction in Iraq on issues such as climate change. He has started an uproar here in the United States over and I suppose around the world, over all these torture memos and torture policy and so on. On the domestic front, I think there's much more continuity. I think that the idea of bailouts, of giving the banks money, which was begun by President Bush 43 last year, Obama has continued and accelerated, and I think the results so far are at best mixed. The gross domestic product here in the United States tumbled by more than 6% in the first quarter, and projections as to unemployment are reaching up to 10 or 11% in the coming year.
Well, of course, as you just said, Mr. Obama came to power amid the ravaging financial crisis, and of course, economy has been the main priority of his first 100 days. However, critics have said that the stimulus plan he drew up is too costly and will need higher taxes to cover the shortfall. What's your view?
Well, I mean, he's borrowed, depending on exactly whose estimate you use, between 8 and 12 trillion, or he's made commitments of between 8 and 12 trillion with a T dollars. And one imagines that money will eventually have to be paid back. It's possible that they could inflate their way out of that debt, but more likely they'll have to raise taxes to pay for it. I mean, I think that, look, President Obama came in, as you said, took over from a predecessor, George W. Bush, who was very unpopular. The Republican Party was very unpopular. And so in that sense, President Obama and the Democrats were naturally going to be the beneficiaries of that feeling in America of time for a change. That honeymoon, if you will last a while. And then I suspect by the end of calendar year 2009, the voters will say, look, we're rid of Bush, and we're not sorry to see him go, but we're hoping for more from President Obama. I think that the economy and unemployment and the ability to get the economy moving again is going to be President Obama's Achilles heel at looking ahead.
All right, Mr. Pinkerton, let's now move from the economy to foreign policy. And Mr. Obama has been keen to open up relations with countries frozen out by the former administration. And some may actually see it as a soft move. And do you think it was wise on Obama's part, or is he indeed being too soft?
Well, I think that the countries such as Iran and Venezuela, either America's going to bomb them or otherwise attack them, or we're going to have to figure out how to get along with them. I mean, one way or another. And I guess Cuba falls in that category too. So, I mean, from a realist point of view, there's much to be said for sort of the acknowledgement that Venezuela, Iran, Cuba exist, aren't going anywhere, and we have to deal with them. Now, I mean, President Obama has come under criticism for being, too friendly with Hugo Chavez of Venezuela at the Inter-American Summit last week. Well, I mean, that was sort of, maybe he should have smiled less when he met Chavez. But I must say that President Obama is showing a degree of realism about what's feasible for America to do that many of us find refreshing.
All right, Mr. Pinkerton, thanks very much indeed for sharing your views with us here on RT. That was a political analyst and journalist talking to us from Washington, D.C., James Pinkerton.